So let me ask you about POLIN Museum. It is, I think, widely recognized as one of the leading museums of its kind in the world. And I wanted to ask you what you think makes POLIN Museum distinctive among museums that present Jewish history.
Well, I remember the first months after our grand opening. We were exhausted because there was so much to do, but then I remember my surprise how much interest this new museum attracted. We had thousands of media clippings from all around Europe, including major newspapers, TV stations, websites, and so on. And I realized the story we are showing is interesting not only for Poles and Jews and Polish Jews and Americans of Jewish origin, but maybe interesting to a variety of people, to the French and German and Norwegian and Danish and Italian visitors who can read about it. We now belong to the European Association of Jewish Museums, so we can see what our colleagues do in other countries. We can talk about it. I think that an important difference lies in the fact that this museum was invented and designed to be not a community museum for the community members, but to be a museum for non-Jews. And most of the visitors are not Jewish, which means you have to explain to them very basic things that the Jewish visitor usually knows. Well, although I'm always surprised how little young Israelis know about the diaspora history. Now, as I am surprised how little Polish students know about history of Poland. That may be somehow related. But I think that was a strategic decision to think about the future visitor, the future audience, in terms of, I would say, a very limited knowledge of things Jewish. And it works, because you cannot overestimate ignorance. It's usually bigger than you expect. And I think that was the right decision. And then we saw people trying to imitate POLIN Museum. In the new Jewish museums in Europe, the most recent case is the beautiful Shtetl Museum in Lithuania, with the same architect and the same set of concepts that were used to make its exhibition, but also non-Jewish museums. I'm on the advisory council of the Museum of History of Poland, now in construction, not far from here, a huge museum. It's so clear that its exhibition was developed after we developed our exhibition. That means they have learned from us, which is good. It's okay, but it's certain satisfaction to see that others follow your ideas. Second feature of POLIN Museum, which is important, is that it operated before it was constructed. Mm-hmm. When the museum existed only as an institution, didn't have a building, didn't have the exhibition, it had educational program, it had cultural program. I know public institutions that exist but do nothing. This institution did not exist yet, but did a lot.
Right.
And it shows that there are synergies between what is the core business of any museum, which are exhibitions and collection, and other forms of cultural activity, concerts, dramas, lectures, book discussions, classes for kids. There is a synergy, and the value added is much bigger when you combine these different layers of activity. We see it every day. Actually, only half of the people who come to the museum building go into the core exhibition. The other half of the number of annual visitors come for a concert, for a temporary exhibition, for a lecture on a topic. This way we can maintain interest in Warsaw, a dozen years after the grand opening. We can maintain interest because every week there is something new and people know it.
As you know, and of course it was under your watch that we won the 2016 European Museum of the Year Award, which was the first time any museum in Poland had won that very, very prestigious award.
And it took me by complete surprise. And again, it reconfirmed that this museum attracts both, the elite public of museum experts and the masses of very ordinary people who want to learn something more.